When the pirate king Zheng Yi died in a sudden typhoon, his widow was instantly left with no official claim to power. Yet she commanded 400 ships and 70,000 pirates who owed her nothing. She knew that her next move, a bold political gamble, would either make her a legend or end her life in chaos. In November 1807, while conducting operations in Vietnam, far from the central Pearl River Delta, Zheng Yi's vessel was caught in a sudden, brutal typhoon. Details are scarce, but the result was devastating and sudden. Zheng Yi drowned. He was only in his early 40s. There was no clear transition, no designated successor, and no time for a plan to be implemented. The pirate confederation, which had been a formidable naval superpower just hours before, instantly became a massive leaderless powder keg. It wasn't just the Red Flag's 20,000 pirates who were suddenly adrift. It was the entire six-flag confederation. Zheng Yi had spent 6 years forcing rival Cantonese captains, leaders of the black, blue, white, yellow, and purple flags, to work together. These men were powerful, ambitious, and deeply suspicious of each other. They had only yielded to Zheng Yi's strategic genius and military might. With him gone, all those old rivalries resurfaced immediately. A bloody civil war within the Confederation was virtually guaranteed. The commanders, such as the heads of the black and yellow flags, saw a sudden, wide-open path to taking the ultimate command. The strongest pirate to seize control in the next few days would rule the South China Sea. And then there was Zheng Yi Sao, Shi Yang, the widow. She was a woman in a world of hardened men, a world where the only accepted authority was demonstrated on the battlefield. She was not of the pirate clans by blood. Her authority was entirely derived from her dead husband, and in that society a widow had no traditional power. In fact, many captains would have seen her as an obstacle, or a prize, to be dealt with quickly and forcefully. She had to command the loyalty of tens of thousands of hardened, ambitious, and superstitious pirates. She was surrounded by rivals who saw her as weak, unprotected, and ripe for overthrow. She knew that her every action would be judged not just on its wisdom, but on its strength. To hesitate was to invite chaos and certain death. She needed to move faster and think colder than any of her husband's rivals, and she knew exactly where to turn. The first and most critical hurdle for Zheng Yi Sao was securing the loyalty of her husband's heir apparent, Cheung Po Tsai, also known as Cheung Po. Cheung Po Tsai's life story was classic pirate legend. Born the son of a fisherman, he was abducted by Zheng Yi in 1798 as a teenager. Zheng Yi recognized the boy's intelligence, charisma, and natural military talent, and rather than enslaving him, he adopted him as his son and protégé. By the time of Zheng Yi's death, Cheung Po Tsai was in his early 20s, already a feared warrior and a highly capable commander, leading a major squadron within the Red Flag fleet. Crucially, Cheung Po Tsai commanded the devotion of the rank-and-file sailors of the Red Flag. They saw him as one of their own, a man who had risen through merit, a proven fighter, and the natural successor to Zheng Yi. This made him the most dangerous man to Zheng Yi Sao's ambition, but also her only path to survival. Before any of the rival flag captains could make a move, before the news of Zheng Yi's death could fully destabilize the fleet, Zheng Yi Sao forged her strategic alliance with Cheung Po Tsai. This was a masterstroke in political maneuvering. She didn't plead for his help, she offered him power. She understood that while he had the military might and the devotion of the men, she possessed the two things he lacked: legitimacy and administrative control. Cheung Po Tsai, despite being the adopted son, had no formal claim to the supreme command. Zheng Yi Sao, as the deceased commander's wife and co-commander, held the ceremonial keys to the Confederation's treasury, its alliances, and its command structure. The negotiation was simple but absolute. She would share the command equally with him. By securing the loyalty of her husband's most popular and powerful commander, she instantly legitimized her position and co-opted her most dangerous potential rival. The nature of their relationship quickly deepened, evolving from a political necessity into a romantic union. Zheng Yi Sao formalized the pact by marrying Cheung Po Tsai. This marriage solidified her power base entirely. She was no longer just Zheng Yi's widow, she was the commander who secured the fleet's future and united it with its most capable military leader. She offered him her organizational genius, her strategic intellect, and the political legitimacy of the Red Flag banner. He offered her the military prowess, the loyalty of the vast majority of the fleet, and his physical protection. It was the perfect political, personal and military partnership. Together, they now commanded the Red Flag Fleet and, by extension, the entire confederation. With Cheung Po Tsai at her side, Zheng Yi Sao had secured the top of the chain of command, but she still had a problem: the sheer scale of chaos. She was now nominally in command of roughly 70,000 pirates, spread across hundreds of ships, all operating across thousands of miles of ocean. For all of Zheng Yi's organizational efforts, the fleet was still, at its core, a sprawling, chaotic rabble. Piracy is inherently disorganized, built on individual greed and short-term thinking. Zheng Yi Sao recognized this as a fatal strategic weakness. To survive an inevitable clash with the Qing Empire, the fleet needed to be transformed from a group of opportunists into a disciplined, effective fighting force, an actual army. She achieved this through the implementation of a strict, iron-clad legal code. This code wasn't about morality, it was about pragmatism and discipline. Every rule she implemented had a strategic purpose aimed at eliminating internal conflict and maximizing military effectiveness. The most critical rule concerned plunder. All plunder must be presented, 20% is taken, and placed in the fleet's common treasury. This rule was genius. It stopped infighting and, by taxing plunder, funded large-scale, long-term operations, transforming the fleet into a self-sustaining financial state. Other rules maintained the fleet's strategic position. Any pirate going ashore on his own authority shall have his ears perforated. For a second offense, he receives death. This stopped unauthorized raids that could provoke a major imperial response, ensuring every offensive was part of a unified strategy. The most revolutionary aspect involved the treatment of female captives. The assault of a female captive is punishable by death. This role served a clear strategic purpose: discipline and order. By formalizing laws against sexual violence, she ensured pirate captains focused on fighting, not infighting, thus maintaining the fleet's professionalism. With her fleet united behind the military strength of Cheung Po Tsai and fiercely disciplined by her iron code, Zheng Yi Sao was now the undisputed commander-in-chief. She had survived the immediate crisis, secured her leadership through political genius, and emerged as a more powerful and effective ruler than her husband ever was. She was no longer the pirate's widow, she was the pirate queen. Now, with the most disciplined naval force in Asia at her command, she turned her eyes toward the shore. The Qing Empire had ignored the pirates for too long. Now, they would learn to fear her. That political chess game in the wake of Zheng Yi's death is why Zheng Yi Sao is a legend. She used intellect and administration to win a fight that would have seen any other widow of the era thrown overboard. Zheng Yi Sao declares war on an empire, faces down the navies of the East and West, and orchestrates the single most audacious exit strategy in criminal history.